My sister demanded I pay for her honeymoon and then the rent, so I refused, and what happened next turned her greed into her own ruin. Her first husband, Dan, was a solid guy, but she got bored and said he was too predictable. Her second, Travis, was a reckless idiot who racked up debts so fast she had to move back in with our parents. The third, Mike, was a walking disaster. He lasted barely a year before taking off with her car and maxing out her credit cards. So when she introduced husband number 4, Greg, I already knew how this was going to end. The first time I met him, something was off. He was too smooth, too rehearsed. Everything about him screamed phony, his exaggerated stories about big business plans, his constant name-dropping of people he claimed to know, his way of dodging specific questions about what he actually did for a living. I knew his type, all talk, no substance. Our parents didn't even pretend to care at that point. They didn't go to the wedding, didn't send a gift, didn't even bring it up in conversation. I figured they were exhausted from the cycle. Linda would swear up and down that this was the one, pour everything into the relationship, then watch it crash and burn, only to do it all over again with someone else. So when she called me out of the blue, way too excited for it to be good news, I knew she was about to ask for something. Jacob, hey, are you busy? She said. What do you need, Linda? I replied. She let out this exaggerated sigh, as if offended that I assumed she was asking for a favor. Wow, can't I just call to say hi? She said, then laughed. Okay, fine, you got me, but it's nothing crazy. I just really need your help with something. I already knew I was going to regret this. She launched into her latest fantasy. She and Greg were planning their dream honeymoon in Thailand, 2 weeks at a beach resort, a once-in-a-lifetime kind of thing. And listen, she continued, we almost have enough, but we're just a little short, so I was thinking, here it comes. Maybe you could help us out? I sighed. Linda, just $6,000, and it's not like it's a gift. I promise we'll pay it back next month. You know I always do. This was a lie, and we both knew it. You don't have $6,000, but you're going on a honeymoon? I asked. She huffed as if I was being unreasonable. We got a great deal, and Greg and I both have plans to start making real money when we get back. We just don't want to miss this, you know? I wasn't convinced. Our parents had long since stopped entertaining her financial disasters, and I was this close to doing the same. But she kept talking, laying it on thick. Jacob, you're the only one I can count on. Mom and Dad don't take me seriously, but you do. You know that Greg is the best man I've ever had. This is forever, I swear to you, forever. Sure, just like the last 3, but against my better judgment, I said yes. I had a steady job, $6,000 wasn't going to ruin me, and honestly, I just wanted her to stop talking. I wired the money. She squealed like a kid on Christmas morning, going on about how I was the best brother ever and how she would definitely pay me back in a month. I told her to enjoy the trip, but something in my gut told me I had just made a mistake. I had no idea how big of a mistake it was. A few weeks later, Linda and Greg came back from Thailand, all smiles and sunburns. I thought I'd stop by and see how their trip went, mostly to remind her that the clock was ticking on the $6,000 she owed me. When I got there, Linda was sprawled out on the couch in sweatpants, scrolling through her phone like she had no worries. Greg was in the kitchen, eating a bowl of cereal like it was the only food in the house. The whole place looked off, a mess, not like 2 people who just got back from a luxury vacation. Hey, I said, stepping inside. So, how was it? Linda barely looked up. Oh, it was good. Not crazy expensive, but good. I frowned. Not crazy expensive? She shrugged. Yeah, we didn't go crazy or anything. I don't know why, but that bothered me. Not because I wanted her to suffer, but because it was too casual, as if the money I gave her meant nothing. Well, I'm glad you had fun, so about the money, and then it happened. Linda sat up, stretched, and said with a straight face, oh yeah, about that. We need more. I actually laughed. I thought she was joking. Good one, but she wasn't laughing. No, I'm serious. We need some help with the rent this month. I stared at her. What? She sighed, as if I was the unreasonable one. Jacob, come on, we just got back, and money is tight. You make good money, it's literally nothing for you to help us out. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Linda, you owe me $6,000, and now you're asking for more? Greg, who had been silent until then, chimed in with his mouth still half full of cereal. It's no big deal, man. Family helps family. I turned to him. I don't even know what you do for a living. He waved that off. Freelance stuff. Freelance what stuff? I looked back at Linda. You said you'd pay me back in a month. She rolled her eyes. And I will, but right now the priority is the rent. It's not like you need the money right away. I felt my blood pressure rise. Why did you even go on a honeymoon if you were broke? And then she hesitated, just for a second, but it was enough. She fumbled for an answer, glancing at Greg. He just kept eating his cereal, as if none of this concerned him. I took a step back. You weren't planning on paying me back, were you? She scoffed. Oh my God, Jacob, don't be dramatic. That's when it clicked. She had never intended to pay me back. She and Greg had never been financially stable. The whole trip had been a fantasy financed by me. And now that reality was crashing down on them, they wanted me to keep bailing them out. I felt this sudden surge of anger. I wasn't even angry about the money. I was angry that they actually thought I was still stupid enough to keep falling for it. No, I said. Linda blinked. What? I'm done. I'm not giving you another dime, and you better figure out a way to pay me back because I'm not letting this go. She stared at me as if I had just slapped her. Then, just like that, the sweetness in her voice disappeared. Oh, so this is who you are? She snapped. You think you're better than me just because you've been lucky in life? Lucky? I repeated. I work my ass off. No, you just got everything handed to you. You don't know how hard it is for people like me and Greg. I let out a sharp laugh. People like you and Greg? You mean people who refuse to get jobs? She shot up from the couch. You know what? Fine, forget about it, but don't expect us to be nice to you when you come crawling back to us one day. This was actually hilarious. For what? Advice on how to cheat my family? She grabbed a pillow and threw it at me. Get out! I didn't need to be told twice. As I walked to my car, my phone started buzzing. Linda. I ignored it. Then Greg's number popped up. Ignored. Over the next few days, the messages kept coming, guilt trips, insults, even veiled threats. I didn't respond. Then, 2 weeks later, our parents invited us all over for dinner. They said they had news. I almost said no, but curiosity got the better of me. Besides, I wanted to see if Linda would actually show up after our falling out. Little did I know I was walking into a disaster. I hadn't spoken to Linda since our fight. I ignored every call, every text, and honestly, it felt good. For once, I wasn't letting her guilt me into cleaning up her mess. So when our parents invited us all over for dinner, I hesitated, but then I thought, maybe they really do have important news. Maybe someone was sick, or maybe they were finally retiring and selling the house. Whatever it was, I thought I should be there. I arrived a little early, hoping to get a chance to talk to Mom and Dad before Linda arrived. I wanted to know if they'd heard anything from her, if she'd even acknowledged that she owed me $6,000. But as soon as I walked in, I knew something was wrong. Mom was in the kitchen, setting the table, and Dad was sitting at the dining room table, rubbing his temples like he already had a headache. Before I could ask what was wrong, the front door swung open. Linda walked in like she owned the place, Greg huddled behind her. And then, before anyone could even say hello, she was off. You know what? She snapped, throwing her purse on the table. I'm sick of this family treating us like garbage. I barely had time to process what was happening before she turned directly to me. And you're the worst of all. You're selfish. You let your own sister struggle while you sit on your stupid pile of money. You act like you're better than us, but you know what? You're not. You're just a greedy little... I held up a hand. Whoa, what is this? Mom looked completely stunned. Linda, what's going on? Greg finally spoke up, his voice far too casual for what was happening. It's pretty simple. Jacob owes us money. I almost choked. I owe you? Linda crossed her arms. You refused to help us with the rent, so guess what? We got evicted. I blinked. How is that my fault? Greg leaned against the wall and grinned. You're the one who got us into this mess. If you'd just helped us, we wouldn't be in this situation. I was too stunned to even answer. Mom and Dad didn't say a word. They just watched, completely shocked. Linda must have taken their silence as approval because she continued. You think you're a hero for cutting me off? She snapped. You're not. You're cruel. And you know what? We're done pretending to pay you back. We're not giving you the $6,000, and there's nothing you can do about it. Dad finally stood up. Linda, sit down. She ignored him. You think I care? You think I'm scared? You think you're going to take us to court over this? We don't have money. We don't have jobs. What are you going to do, huh? Then she turned to our parents. And you're no better. You've never supported me, and now when I really need help, you just sit there and do nothing. Mom spoke carefully. Linda, you are not a victim here. Linda scoffed. Of course you would say that. Dad had had enough. You know what? Get out. Linda's face fell. What? Greg straightened. Excuse me? You heard me, Dad said. Both of you, get out of my house. Linda's eyes shot around as if she couldn't believe what was happening. You're kicking me out? Me, your own daughter? Dad didn't even hesitate. You just admitted to stealing from your own brother. You come into our house and yell at us like we owe you? On top of that, you married a man who refuses to work and thinks it's your family's job to support you. I'm done. We're done, Greg scoffed. You can't just... Dad took a step forward. Try me. For a second, I actually thought Greg was going to fight him. He puffed out his chest, squared his shoulders, but then just as quickly he deflated. Linda, realizing she had just burned her last bridge, did what she always did. She went for the drama. She gasped, covering her mouth as if she were going to cry. Oh my God, I see what's happening. You never loved me. You never cared. You're throwing me out like I'm nothing. Dad didn't say a word, he just pointed to the door. And then Linda did something completely out of character. She picked up a wine glass from the table and threw it at the wall. It shattered into 100 little pieces. Mom actually jumped. That was it. That was the last straw. Dad didn't yell, he didn't lose his temper. He just turned to me and said, "Call the police." Linda froze. Greg's whole tough guy act was gone. "Wait, hold on." Dad crossed his arms. "You want to act like lunatics? You want to destroy my home? Fine, but I won't stand for it." Linda held up her hands. Okay, we'll leave. No need for cops." Greg grabbed her arm and began to pull her toward the door, and just like that, they were gone. For a long time, none of us said anything. We just stood there staring at the broken glass on the floor. Finally, Mom sighed. "Well, I guess that's it." Dad nodded. "I'm done trying to fix it." I exhaled and ran a hand through my hair. Me too. But deep down, I knew this wasn't the end. Linda wasn't the type to let things go, and I was right because 2 weeks later, she was back in my life, begging me for help. 2 weeks went by, and I didn't hear a word from Linda. Not that I was complaining. After the dinner disaster, I figured she and Greg had either found another sucker to leech off or were couch surfing their way through life. Either way, I was done. Then, out of nowhere, she called. I stared down at my phone. I hadn't blocked her, mostly because I wanted to see how long it would take her to come crawling back. Curiosity got the better of me. I answered. The first thing I heard was sobs, not the dramatic fake tears she used when she wanted something. This was different. "Jacob," she gasped. "Please, I need you." I almost hung up right then and there, but something about the way she said it, raw, desperate, made me pause. I sighed. "What now?" She took a shaky breath. "Greg's gone." I sat up. "What do you mean gone?" "He left me," she let out a choked sob. "As soon as he found out I actually had to pay you back, he ran. Took what little money we had left and cut me off from everything. I wasn't shocked I had seen this coming. But still, to hear it out loud, damn." Linda had officially hit rock bottom. She sniffled. "I have nothing, Jacob. No apartment, no money, no one." I remained silent. Then she dropped the real bombshell. "I'm pregnant." My stomach churned. "What?" I just found out. "I'm pregnant and Greg knows and he left me anyway." I was speechless. Linda? A mother? I didn't even know how to process this. She broke down again. I swear I've changed. I know I messed up. I know I've been selfish, but please, just help me one last time. I have nowhere else to go." My mind was racing. Part of me wanted to say no, to let her figure it out on her own. She had burned every bridge, manipulated everyone who cared about her, and now she wanted another favor. But then I thought of the baby, an innocent child trapped in this mess before she was even born. I sighed. "Where are you?" She gave me an address, a cheap motel on the bad side of town. 20 minutes later, I pulled into the parking lot. She was sitting on the curb, looking more defeated than I had ever seen her. No makeup, hair a mess, dark circles under her eyes. I rolled down the window. "Get in." She climbed into the passenger seat, her arms wrapped around herself like she wanted to disappear. I looked at her. "So what's the plan?" She shook her head. "I don't know." I gripped the wheel. "Are you sure you're pregnant?" She nodded. "Took 3 tests, all positive." I sighed. "Have you told Mom and Dad?" She hesitated. "No. They won't believe me, not after everything." She wasn't wrong. I exhaled slowly. "Linda, I'll help you this time, but not with money. I'll help you figure something out, but I'm not your bank anymore." She wiped her nose. "That's all I want. Just someone to believe me." For the first time in years, I caught a glimpse of the little sister I used to know, and for the first time in years, I actually felt sorry for her. But deep inside, I had a sinking feeling. This wasn't over. Not even close. I drove Linda back to my place, mostly because I didn't trust her to be alone in that rundown motel. She looked wrecked, more exhausted than I'd ever seen her. She barely spoke the whole drive, just stared out the window like she was watching her life burn down in real time. When we got inside, she sat on the couch, knees pulled to her chest. "So," I said, crossing my arms, "you need a plan." She nodded weakly. "Yeah." I sighed. "First, you need to see a doctor. Make sure the pregnancy is real and healthy." She shot me a look. "You think I'm lying about this? Can you blame me?" She flinched but didn't argue. I continued. "If you're really pregnant, you need stability. A job, a place to stay, something." She was quiet for a long time, then whispered, "I don't even know where to start." I rubbed my temples. I was really doing this. After everything, I was really about to help her. But then something happened that changed everything. Linda's phone lit up on the coffee table. A text. She didn't react, but I glanced at the screen. It was from Greg, and it said, "Is he buying it?" My blood turned to ice. I snatched the phone before she could react. "Hey!" she shrieked, lunging for it. I held it out of reach, scrolling through the messages, and my stomach dropped. The whole thing was a setup. Greg never actually left. He and Linda had come up with this sob story to get me to let my guard down. The pregnancy? Fake. Just a way to guilt me into helping. I kept scrolling, my hand shaking. "Greg, once he feels bad enough, we'll ask for the money." "Linda, I think he's falling for it. Just need to act more desperate." "Greg, perfect. By the time he realizes, we'll be long gone." I looked up at her, my heart pounding. She was frozen, her face pale. "You lied," I said, my voice dangerously calm. She swallowed hard. Jacob, you lied about being pregnant. She didn't answer. I let out a short, bitter laugh. Wow. Wow. You really had me for a second. I actually felt bad for you. Wait, I can explain. No, I snapped. No, you can't. I stood up, gripping her phone so hard my knuckles turned white. This is rock bottom, Linda. I don't care what your excuses are. You're done. You hear me? Done. Tears welled in her eyes. I didn't know what else to do. You shut me out. Mom and Dad shut me out. So you faked a pregnancy? I was actually shaking. You and Greg were going to scam me again. She wiped at her face. I was desperate. I clenched my jaw. No, you're just a liar. And then I did something I never thought I'd do. I called the cops. She freaked out, grabbing my arm. Jacob, please, no. I yanked away from her. You're a thief, a con artist. You stole from me and you tried to do it again. You're going to learn what real consequences feel like. The dispatcher picked up. I gave them my address and told them I had someone trespassing who refused to leave. Linda lost it, screaming, crying, begging me not to do this, but I was done. 15 minutes later, the cops arrived. They didn't arrest her. She hadn't committed a crime right then and there, but they did escort her out. She didn't even fight it, just sobbed the whole way. Greg, of course, was nowhere to be found. And me? I stood in the doorway, watching them take her away, feeling absolutely nothing. No regret, no guilt. That night, after watching the police escort Linda out of my apartment, something inside me shifted permanently. It wasn't anger anymore. It was clarity. Crystal clear, undeniable clarity. I was finished. Completely, irrevocably done. No more late-night phone calls filled with her manipulative sobbing. No more carefully crafted guilt trips designed to make me feel like the villain in her self-created tragedy. No more swooping in to rescue her from consequences she'd earned through her own reckless choices. The very next morning, I blocked her number. Then, not taking any chances, I went to my phone carrier that same afternoon and changed my number entirely. I wanted a clean break, a fresh start, a life where Linda couldn't reach me even if she tried. And boy, did she try. For weeks afterward, my inbox flooded with emails. Some angry, some desperate, some trying to sound casual like nothing had happened. She created fake social media accounts with random names, sending me friend requests and messages. Greg started calling from different numbers, probably borrowed phones from whatever unfortunate souls they'd latched onto next. Each time I saw an unfamiliar number or a suspicious message request, I knew it was them, and each time I hit delete, block, ignore. Eventually, mercifully, the attempt stopped. She finally gave up. The silence that followed was the most peaceful thing I'd experienced in years. 2 years later, I moved to a new city, started fresh, and never looked back. Mom and Dad cut her off too. They were sad at first, but after everything, they accepted that she chose this life. The last we heard, Greg was still around, still drinking, still refusing to work. They were drowning in debt, constantly getting evicted. Mom told her to leave him. She refused. That was the last time they spoke. I don't know where she is now, and I don't care. Some people can't be saved, and for the first time in my life, I don't feel guilty about it.